Almost got me. Hey, 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 everybody. Happy Make Your Move Monday. This is Latrice McFadden coming to you live all the way from Durham, North Carolina on this beautiful Monday afternoon now. So thankful to be here today with you all. And also, happy Home Ownership Month. June is National Home Ownership Month. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about why home ownership still matters. There's a lot of things going on. Some people are of the theory that renting is better. And I just want to talk about why home ownership is valuable and important. First of all, obviously, for me and historically, it is the best place to build wealth. I've heard people talk about the fact that it's not your primary residence isn't necessarily an investment. And I beg to differ. I think it is because when you have to have somewhere to live, and obviously it's all about, you making wise financial decisions, but we all have to have somewhere to live. So why not be investing in our own future rather than investing in someone else's future? So just the way that, you build wealth through real estate, starting with your primary residence and then in other homes as well, is obviously the equity grows over the time by not only you paying down the mortgage payment or paying down the principal balance, but also by appreciation. You're going to pay it down, and yes, you are for the first few years. If you only make the minimum payment, um, you're only paying interest for the most part. But if you're strategic and you work with it, and even if you don't, if you're going to be in it for the long haul, between paying down the mortgage and building your equity that way, as well as appreciation, you usually end up in a pretty good position, depending on the cycles of life, and that goes through the cycles of the financial cycles of life, and that goes for whether it's real estate or invested in the stock market or Bitcoin or whatever you decide to invest in. There are going to be times where it may be down and it may not appreciate as much, but why not appreciate and build that equity? And when you're building it, and when as the equity increases, that's your leverage. You can continue to pay it off, especially if it's your primary residence, and just have it. And maybe when you get to a certain age, maybe for some people that's the only investment or the only source of income they may have. You can do different things, like you could sell it. You could take a reverse mortgage if it's a position, if it's a home that you want to and are able to age in, you can take that equity out and use it that way. So, or if as you're buying over or, building over the course of life, maybe you take some of that equity and you use it as leverage to invest in other homes. Maybe you take some of it out to pay for your children's education or weddings or whatever it is that you want to do. There are data, there's history about how people use that leverage, that equity in their homes as it increases. So look at it. And obviously, like I said, it is all about making wise financial decisions and investments. So you don't want to max out your budget. You don't want to, max out, especially if it's a couple. I always encourage my couples, if you're able to, and it is getting more difficult, but if you are able to buy on one income, so that that if something happens to one person's income, you can still survive and thrive, and not run the risk of losing your home. But and then also, if you decide you want to be an investor, both of your credit is not tied up. So that's just one thing to talk about as far as wealth building. Another advantage to home ownership is stability. I am so even though in my family we did move a few times, but we always had a home that we lived in, except for in Pittsburgh. But other than that, for that short 3 years, because my dad was in grad school, we always had a home that my parents owned. So that created stability. My children were the house that they came home from the hospital in is still the house that we're in. And I know a lot of people don't usually nowadays, they say about people move about every 7 years, but even still, having that stability of knowing that you're not going to have to move every year, your rent isn't going to increase every year. Yes, your taxes and insurance can increase, but that's not going to be an annual thing, and that you can look into ways to maintain. So just that stability of knowing that this is my home, this is where my children are going to be raised, this is where they are, That's invaluable to me. Freedom to personalize it, to change. I'm working with someone now, and he was like, "Can you? Will we be able to paint? Will we be able to? I don't know, whatever you want to do. That's your home." I have a client who made a whole bedroom a closet. That's her home. That's You can do and make those changes. Now, what you do want to consider is like, what would it take to get them back in the future if somebody wanted to buy that home and wanted it to be a 3 bedroom home, or if somebody wants to buy a home and you've painted it a different color in every room. What will it take to get it back? Because that might not, you may not be able to get the top dollar for when you're trying to sell it, if you have a custom color in every room, but you do have the freedom to do what you want to in your home, to personalize it. So, um, pride of ownership. This People will tend to take care of things better when you own it than when you rent it. It's just something about when it's yours, you're going to go that extra mile to take care of something. So, and make it and be proud. And then creating a community within your in your neighborhood. Knowing your neighbors, knowing who's living beside you. I know that I've been out of town. I've been able to call my neighbor and say, "Hey, I got a package. Can you stop by and pick it up?" Or just, she took care of my plants when I wasn't able to. So just establishing those relationships with people that because you've had long term stability, and not moving somewhere every year. So another another benefit to home ownership. And home ownership does not look the same for everyone. So if you're a first time buyer, it might look different than if you're looking for something for your move up home. If you're a veteran, if you're doing multi generational homes because you have parents that you need to take care of, and maybe adult children coming back and living with you for a while after college. Everything, it looks different for each person. So there are ways for everybody to buy. Like I said, there's VA loans, there's USDA loans if you want to be sort of out in the rural areas. If you're self-employed, there are loans for you. Um, if you're downsizing and you want to move to something that's maybe one level, or at least have your primary bedroom on the first floor, there are differences, and those things we can talk about and figure out how to get you to where you need to be in your home ownership journey. Common myths that keep people from buying a home. Sometimes people just think it is just too hard. I cannot do it. Maybe they've never seen anybody in their family own a home, and they just think, I can't do it. So people might still think that you have to have 20% down to buy a home. That is a myth. You do not. You don't have to have 20% down, whether you're buying your first home or you're buying a move up home. There are different programs that you can purchase, some 100%, and you don't have to be a veteran to do that. There's down payment assistance options that you can use. If you are moving up, then you can take the equity out of a previous home and maybe keep that one as an investment property. But you can take the equity out by refinancing or doing an equity line, or you could sell it and take that equity out. Some people also think that your credit has to be perfect. Now, you do need to have a decent credit score. I tell people probably at least 640. There are programs that will do it for less, but you're going to have it's going to cost you a little bit more. But you can, your credit does not have to be A1 perfect. And I tell everybody, make sure you talk to a lender. I'm going to refer you to a lender after you share some details and things like that, because I don't want to tell you, hey, pay this credit card off or refinance this car or whatever, and then, or pay this debt off, pay off this hospital bill, and that messes it up. So I know how to stay in my lane and be a resource for, my clients, and point you in the right direction so that they can tell you, yeah, this would help you jump your score up by XYZ, or no, don't touch that because it's going to hurt you. Because sometimes bringing things if you have an old debt that's about to fall off, it may hurt you to make some movement on it and bring it back to the forefront. So I definitely stay in my lane when it comes to advising on credit, but I do have multiple lenders that I partner with for different situations and scenarios, and I know how to get you to the right person. And then this one right now, I should wait till rates drop. That is not a good thing, because when rates drop, the competition is going to be stiffer, and the prices are going to be higher. So date the rate, marry the home. And then later on, if rates drop, you can, refinance. And some lenders, they have programs, special programs that if the rates drop within a certain time period, they can refinance you or reduce your interest rate for free without charging you, do a streamlined process. So, um, let's always talk about that. And then the builders are still buying down interest rates, y'all. They are still buying down interest rates. So there's lots of options for getting into that home and taking advantage of it. And it's not always wait till the rates go down. I don't make enough money to buy a house. I've heard this one a lot of times, and maybe you don't. There are times when that is true, but for the most part, if you're paying rent, and you may have to be flexible, you may not be able to be in the city proper or exactly where you want to be. You may have to move a little bit further out, but if you're paying rent, you're paying somebody's mortgage, so there's a good chance that you make enough money to buy a house. So those are just some myths that we can get rid of. We can don't make that your thing. Let's talk, let's have a conversation and figure out, if you're not ready now, what you need to do to be ready, and what that process will look like, so that when your lease is up or when you whatever and you're ready, you'll be ready and you've dealt with some things. So some things that you can do now, to be ready to buy a home: look at your credit, double check it, pull it up on Credit Karma. There's a lot of free places where you can see your credit. Now, of course, that credit score will not be the same score that a lender will see for your mortgage, but it'll give you an idea if there are things that you need to work on, if there's any late payments, if there's any incorrect information. Don't be afraid to look at your credit. I have said this numerous times, that when my dad first told me back in 1995 that I should, or 94, something or another, that I should buy a house, I was like, I can't buy a house. I'm the one who had all the credit cards, and every credit card that they came on campus and offered, guess who got it? I was one of the first people to have a cell phone in my car, and all kinds of stuff that I didn't need to have. But I did it. But I was still able to buy a house because someone said to me, you should buy a house, you should invest. And I got the information. I didn't just stick with my own thoughts of I can't buy a home. So go check your credit, see what it is, see what you need to do. Let's talk and let's get you to the right lender. I'm not a huge proponent of paying for credit repair. A lot of things you can do yourself, and there's a lot of lenders and nonprofit organizations out here that will put you on the right path and tell you exactly what you need to do. And sometimes it's that same way that you have that pride of ownership of your home, that pride of, oh, I did this, I went through the process and I got everything done. So when you take that step, you do that. So check your credit, talk with a lender. A lot of times lenders now can do soft pulls on your credit just to make sure that what you see and what you're sharing is correct, and they can get you pre-approved, or give you an idea of, if there's something you need to do to get ready, and then what the payment would be, what's your mortgage, how much you can borrow, just from talking to a lender. Create a savings plan. I know when I was wanting to buy something that was a little bit more expensive, I created a savings plan, but what I did was I started making that larger payment. And I know, like NACA, if you're looking to move up and it's going to be a significant increase in what you're paying with a current mortgage or rent, then they have a time period where they want you to put that difference in savings so that you can see what it's like to not have it, and they want it to stay there. So create a savings plan. Not only just not just for the larger payment, but also for having your down payment, for having an emergency fund. Because when you buy your home, that's your baby. There's no landlord to call and say, hey, come fix my toilet, it overflowed, or my water heater went out. When I bought my first house, my water heater died like 2 weeks after I moved in. Fortunately for me, the seller had provided a 1-year home warranty, so I just paid, I think it was like $35 or $50 back then. It's been a long time, for my deductible, and I got a brand new water heater. But you want to create a savings plan and have money for different buckets. Learn about down payment assistance programs if this is your first home and you fit within there. And some of the income limits are they're pretty good. So you might think that you make too much money, but you might qualify for a down payment assistance program based on, depending on what county you're in, depending on the number of people in your household. So there might be programs that can help you. Some of them might be forgivable. Some of them you may have to, they might be silent and you just have to pay them off at the end. But don't be afraid to learn about down payment assistance programs and see if there's something that can work with you. Attend a home buyer education. With the Triangle Wealthy Group, we are always doing um, consumer focused events with home buyer education. So we have those monthly. And I just looked at the topic for this. We're going to have it. It's going to be the June 11th, and it escapes me, but go to twgpresents.com and you can register for that one. I can't remember if it was down payment assistance, but the details are out there at twgpresents.com, and you can go out there, see what we have coming up for the rest of the year. We have them already pre-scheduled. Some are in person, some are virtual, but they're typically free. And just get the education. Go get the education. We are giving it to you. And then I'm also open to providing one-on-one home buyer and home seller meetings so that you can find out. Like, sometimes people don't want to ask questions in public because they feel like their situation is so bad and so different than everyone else. But do the one-on-one. Ask your questions, get your questions answered one-on-one, and I'm always open to do that for you. So that's just a few things that I wanted to talk about for Home Ownership Month. I encourage anybody that is thinking about it, that may feel overwhelmed with the process. I am here. The Triangle Wealthy Group is here to answer any questions about home ownership and getting you into home ownership. And once you get into home ownership, or maybe if you're one of those people that doesn't necessarily want to own your home, maybe you just want to get into investment, we're here to walk you through every step of the way with that. So I already told you about our event that's going to be on Thursday, June 11th. It is going to be virtual. And again, I'm looking for the topic, but I'll keep looking for that. But so we'll have that event on Thursday, June 11th. You can go to twgpresents.com. And then another huge event, we're doing it again. Last year we had our first Juneteenth event, Triangle Wealthy Group Juneteenth event. So we are doing it again. We're going to be right back at Self Help Credit Union on Friday, June 19th. It is free. You can go to twgpresents.com. We will have James Montague there again on our panel. We're going to have an estate planning attorney. Just it's going to be a great event. And if all goes well, no matter where we are, we're going to go and tour my project. I've shared with you all that I did purchase an investment project. And if you've seen some of the other Make Your Move Mondays, you can see sort of where we are. But fingers crossed it's going to be ready, completely ready. But even if it's not, we're going to go and tour that project on Juneteenth as our event, our once we finish our event. So we'll have an investor, have investors there. So come meet people, learn, figure out what you need to do, and join us for that. So that's Juneteenth. It'll start at 9 a.m. at Self Help Credit Union. And why don't I see the other event on here? I don't see that, but for June 11th, we'll get it added to twgpresents.com. And then for my fellow realtors, we have our bi-weekly mastermind. So next Thursday, we will have another mastermind. You can register for that. But on Tuesday, July 14th, we are going to be having our Triangle Wealthy Group Wealthy Retreat. We have the GOATs, Calvin and Terry Marie Gleaton, coming all the way from Georgia to present. We're going to have a top producer panel. Ruben Garcia is going to be on that from Fayetteville, and he's also going to be doing a separate training session. I'll have Gerald Mack, one of our local top producers, Dania. Her last name escapes me, but it's going to be a jam-packed. We're going to have a session on AI. Go register for that event. We're going to feed you. Register for that event today. The early bird is up. It is $47 for the early bird, and then it'll be I think 57 after the early bird. Go to twgpresents.com and get your tickets. You do not want to miss being in the room for that, because it is going to be phenomenal. You're going to go away with skills that you can implement immediately. So that's all I have. I've been on here a little bit longer than I like to be or had planned to be, but my whole thing is always make your move, get the education, get the information, ask the questions. There are no stupid questions, and don't ever think that your situation is not is something that's unique or nobody else has done or been in the position that you are. And just get the questions, get the education, make your move, because every step counts. So that's all I have. Looking forward to seeing you all at some of our upcoming events. We try to provide them mostly for free. We have some great sponsors. Pad Split is going to be a sponsor for our retreat. Investors Title, I forgot to say, they're going to be there at the retreat. They're a sponsor. We have our annual sponsor, Self Help Credit Union, and Arnett Law. So they're pouring into us so that we can pour into you. So we definitely appreciate all of their support and finances. State Farm is been a sponsor, Carolina Property Law. So we just have a lot of sponsors that, invest in us so that we can invest in you. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Make your move Monday. Have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful weather that we're having here in North Carolina, or hopefully some great weather wherever you are. But stay safe, make your move, because every step counts. And we will see you next